Hi folks, Wooden Boat Dan here. Just wanted to give you a heads up. The podcast you're about to listen to was recorded several years ago, so some of the phone numbers, email addresses, website links, and time-sensitive information are no longer valid. Please keep that in mind as you listen. If you'd like to contact me, my email address is woodenboatdan@gmail.com. Thank you and enjoy the podcast. Welcome to Hooked on Wooden Boats weekly podcast episode number 38. I am your host, Wooden Boat Dan, aka Dan Matson, and this is the world's very first podcast. Mark it here, folks, the very first in the world, fully dedicated to celebrating the art, craft, history, and tradition of wooden boats. And I'm thinking about adding the preservation of wooden boats to that tagline also. Welcome back to the show, folks. Good to have you here. I'm sitting in my home studio in beautiful downtown Arlington, Washington, where there's broken clouds and a little bit of sunshine, and my grass is getting a little bit long because I've been spending too much time on my boat. But that's a good problem to have. The grass can always get cut, but I can't always work on my boat. Today's featured segment is 3 interviews that I did during the annual Pocket Yacht Palooza in Port Townsend, Washington. And that was about 2 or 3 weeks ago. The first interview was with Marty Loken. Marty organized the first annual Pocket Yacht Palooza, and he is the owner of the Island Boat Shop in Nordland, Washington on Marrowstone Island. Marty, I hope I got all that right. I think I did. Marty talks about the first annual Pocket Yacht Palooza and talks about some of his own boats and what's happening at his boat shop. So I'm sure you're going to enjoy that interview. Then I'm going to go directly into an interview with Lee Bjorklund. Lee lives in Seattle, and he races dragon boats, among other things, and he's got a beautiful 18.5-foot Wee Seal Iain Oughtred designed boat, double-ended lapstrake called OPUS. He's going to talk about that a little bit. And then third interview is with Pete Leenhouts. He's the interim director of Northwest School of Wooden Boat Building, and Pete talks about the upcoming SCAMP class, and also about his background with boats and the fact that he spent many years on wooden vessels that were actually minesweepers. Pretty fun interview there. So those 3 interviews together are about 45 minutes, so stick around for that. Please connect with me. You can email me at dan@hookedonwoodenboats.com. Subscribe to my e-news list by going to my homepage, hookedonwoodenboats.com/subscribe. You can write comments on my blog, which is my website basically. I know it's easy to get confused about what's a podcast, what's a blog, what's a website. Well, basically my website is in a blog format, and when I publish a podcast, I put a link to it there with the green player button. That's maybe how you're listening to this, or you might be listening through iTunes. And then I put in notes about what the podcast is about for that week, and I put pictures on my website also. So if you're just listening to the podcast and not going to the website, I would encourage you to go to the website also and check out the photos that go along with each podcast. You can also find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Pinterest, and my handle there is Wooden Boat Dan. You can send pictures and stories to my email, or you can call my voicemail feedback hotline at 424-261-2360. And I would love it if you would subscribe to my podcast. You can do that on my website by clicking on the RSS feed button, which is a little orange square button. Or you can go to iTunes, to the store, go to the podcast section, and search for Hooked on Wooden Boats and subscribe there. Well, this has been a good week again in the wooden boat world. I got motivated after spending a little time in an aluminum boat a couple weeks ago to work on my canoe, my 12-foot lapstrake sassafras canoe. So over the last week, I got all 10 panels stitched together. And so it actually took the shape of a boat. It's just amazing to me how the geometry works on that. You cut all these panels out to shape, you drill a hole every 6 inches, and you cut a rabbet for the lap. This is a lap stitch technology boat. And then you wire that all together in kind of a flat piece, and then when you wire the two ends of the boat together, voila, you have a boat. So it's pretty amazing. So I'm getting some done on my canoe. Hope to have it done this month, possibly, we'll see. I'll start to put the fillets in, or the fillets. They're not fillets. Fillet is what I eat for dinner when I feel rich, which isn't very often. Fillets are what you do with thickened epoxy to strengthen a wooden boat. So I'll put my fillets in the stern and the bow, wire in my bulkheads, and then start epoxying all the lap stitch joints. So I'm pretty excited about that. I'm going to put some pictures up on the web, in fact, on that. I've also applied to be added to Stitcher Radio, which I don't know a ton about Stitcher Radio, but it's a place to go on your mobile device to listen to podcasts and other audio content by category, and you could subscribe. And so I'm applying to get added there. I figure I can pick up some new listeners. And I've also got a graphic artist working on redesigning my logo for my website and my artwork for my podcast. And then also I will have some artwork for t-shirts, hats, mugs, that sort of thing that I plan to start selling on my website pretty soon. So stay tuned for all that fun stuff. As far as upcoming events, June 29th to July 1st, Wooden Boat Show in Mystic Seaport, Connecticut. Center for Wooden Boats, Wooden Boat Festival, Seattle, Washington, June 30th to July 4th. I'll definitely be at that. Scamp class, August 6th to the 17th. Howard Rice, John Welsford, Scott Jones, and other people will be helping a group of students build a scamp, which, if you don't know what that is, you can Google SCAMP. It's 11-foot, 11-inch, amazing little 1 to 2 to 3 person sailboat that's pretty much indestructible. So that's going to be pretty cool. And then I've got some other events listed on my podcast website. And if you have some upcoming events that would be appropriate for my site, you can email those to me. And if they fit in with what I'm doing, I'll be glad to add them to the list there. Well, that's about it for news this week. I appreciate you tuning in. We're going to go right into the interviews now. First will be Marty Loken, then a real short intermission of silence, about a second. I'll go right into the interview with Lee Bjorklund, and then from there directly into the interview with Pete Leenhouts. So I hope you enjoy these interviews. Take it away, Marty. Okay, it is May 19th. I'm sitting with Marty Loken of the Island Boat Shop and organizer of the first annual Pocket Yachters Palooza in Port Townsend, Washington. So welcome to the show, Marty.
Thank you. The Pocket Yacht Palooza has been a huge amount of fun for all of us. We're thrilled with the number of boats and the variety of boats who have shown up. It's just a celebration of some of the best small boat designers in the world, all here in one place. From John Welsford of New Zealand to Iain Oughtred and names like Phil Bolger and Pete Culler and Monk and Atkin and so many others. Bill Garden, all represented here.
At Prothero.
Yes.
Bob Prothero, yeah.
So a lot of people have told me sort of nostalgically that this event has reminded them of the early days of the Port Townsend Wooden Boat Festival.
Mm-hmm.
The informality, the fact that it's just barely organized, the fact that it's free, and everybody loves the Wooden Boat Festival, but I think the spontaneity of this event has resonated with people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very cool. So how many boats are here today, Marty?
I think we have, certainly over 50 altogether, somewhere in the low 50s.
Mm-hmm.
But our registration process was so informal that we never did know precisely how many to expect. But they're all here, I think.
Yeah, very cool. So this is the first annual. You plan on having the second annual next year?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We've talked with the Northwest Maritime Center. They've been tremendous hosts, a great site for this kind of event. So we'll do it again next year, not in conflict with the annual Rhododendron Festival next year. And it will be sponsored, organized by our Port Townsend Pocket Yachters group again, and co-sponsored by the Northwest Maritime Center, the Traditional Small Craft Association, our Pocket Yachters group, Small Craft Advisor magazine, and the Northwest School of Wooden Boat Building, all sort of coming together to put on the second Pocket Yacht Palooza.
Okay, so for our listeners, tell us what a pocket yacht is, Marty.
A pocket yacht is whatever you want it to be, anything between 8 feet and about 23 feet that you row or sail or both. The most common association with a pocket yacht is a pocket cruising sailboat, sort of typically in the 12 to 23 foot range. Boats like Scamp, a very popular newer design of John Welsford's that is at the show here. Scamp is 11 feet 11 inches and might represent the smaller end of pocket cruising sailboats, but I'll bet somebody like Howard Rice or some other small craft adventurer will probably circumnavigate with a Scamp while we're all still alive. And we have other designs, other boats here, catboats and Whitehalls and wherries and yawl boats and gigs and all imaginable designs that fit into the pocket yacht or pocket cruiser category.
Mm-hmm. So how do you keep all those different designs straight, Marty? I walk up to a boat and I go, is that a catch rig or a yawl rig?
Well, it's there are amazing complexities and details when you start talking about rigging and hardware and boat types and boat building methods, and it can be pretty dizzying, and I don't think any one of us have it all down yet, but that's part of the fun of being involved with traditional boats is the endless variety and both simplicity in the smaller boats, but sort of variety of sailing rigs that you can invent or come up with.
So is the Pocket Yachters, is that a local group or is that a more national group, or what's the story with that?
We started the Port Townsend Pocket Yachters group a couple years ago, and we have a website, www.pocketyachters.com, and if folks go to the website, they will learn more about pocket cruising boats. They'll see a lot of photographs of boats that our members and others enjoy rowing or sailing. And in another week, they'll see tons of photos of the Pocket Yacht Palooza event that we are enjoying today.
On your website?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how many pocket yachters do you personally own, Marty? Should we turn the tape off for this answer?
No, you can leave the tape running because my wife bought one today.
Oh, she did?
Yeah, this was a great day. Not only did we have the Pocket Yacht Palooza, but my wife bought one of the boats on display.
What did she buy?
Because she's a sailor. She's done a lot more sailing than I have. She bought the Willie boat, an Iain Oughtred design, 15-foot lugsail rigged double-ender, lapstrake double-ended 15-foot rowing and sailing boat.
Really?
From Mike Scott of Whidbey Island, who brought it over here and made the mistake of hanging a for sale sign on it.
Oh my goodness! Congratulations.
Yeah, I hope she'll let me sail it a little bit.
Hopefully you'll get to go out on it, huh?
Yeah, it's a great boat and sort of very typical of some of the, especially the Iain Oughtred and John Welsford designed boats here.
Is it similar to the Wee Seal design?
It's Wee Seal is a much bigger boat in volume and size.
I see.
The Willie boat is sort of a miniature of the Caledonia yawl, if people have seen those around, and we have one here today.
Is it an all open boat?
Yeah, it's an open, double-ended lapstrake.
Yeah. Real traditional looking.
Beautiful design.
Yeah.
Kick-up rudder and pretty good boat under oars or under sail.
Okay.
So I was thrilled when she nudged me and said, you could sell that cat boat and we could buy the Willie boat.
Oh.
And works for me.
Yeah, so you're going to sell your cat boat.
Yeah.
Okay. Now what's that boat?
It's also a 15-foot boat. It was built in 1980, and it's a typical cat boat. The beam is half as wide as it is long, and typical cat boat proportions. And it has a gaff rig, and it's a wonderful boat to sail, but it has an awful lot of sail area, and not easy to reef if you run into heavier wind. So it's, for my wife, it was a little daunting to sail the cat boat. And the Willie boat has reef points, and it came with a large sail as well as a whole separate smaller sail, as well as reef points. So, we'll learn to sail the boat using the smaller sail and then work our way up to the bigger one.
Yeah. So will you sail that out of Nordland?
We'll mainly sail that in Mystery Bay and Killisset Harbor, alongside Marrowstone Island, where we live, across the bay from Port Townsend.
I see. Very good, very good. So what's happening at the Island Boat Shop these days? I interviewed you 3 or 4 months ago, and you were working on a rig that I kind of fell in love with, but I think your wife did too. So the raised deck sloop.
Yeah, we have the 20-foot raised deck sloop that we're restoring for personal use. That'll be our pocket cruiser for vacation cruises.
Yeah.
I'm currently refinishing an 18-foot Herreshoff America cat boat for a customer. It was built in Bristol, Rhode Island in, I think, 1982. And we are also going to do some repair work on a boat we restored 18 months ago, which is a 1936 22-foot, all mahogany, all varnished inboard launch that came back for some repairs and a little refinish work. So that boat's in the shop. And that's about it for now, other than the ongoing personal projects that we try to wedge in between the customer projects. Yeah.
Right. So do you have any personal favorite boats here today other than the one you purchased and the one you own?
Well, I have to say the one that my wife just bought, the Willie boat, is a real favorite. We both fell in love with that one right away. I love the Wee Seal design, and as a pocket cruising sailboat, what a great boat to get those accommodations in that small a boat. I mean, he trailers.
What's the length of that boat? 14
it's
feet?
20. The Wee Seal is, I think, 20 or 18 or 20.
Okay, yeah.
Maybe 18. But I mean, he trailered that up here with a Toyota RAV4, which, considering the apparent size of the boat, was impressive to me.
Yeah.
So it tows real easily. He can go anywhere with that boat and camp cruise for weeks on end in comfort. So that's pretty impressive. But I don't know. It's hard not to love all the boats here in different ways.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of like, who's your favorite son, right?
Right.
Or daughter or whatever, favorite child.
Yeah.
Same kind of question.
Yep.
Well, what else has happened? Anything exciting, Marty, in the wooden boat world here in Port Townsend?
Well, we're all looking forward to this week's Small Craft Skills Academy with Howard Rice. I think that's going to be a lot of fun, and all of us who are participating will learn a whole lot about rigging and sailing and staying safe on the water, which is a major theme for Howard. Sort of odd considering he sailed around Cape Horn in a Klepper.
Yeah, I know. But to him it was a real safe thing to do, right? Because he was prepared for it.
But the Skills Academy is a great offering, and Howard will come back to Port Townsend the first week of September to offer another Small Craft Skills Academy, and there still are openings for that session, as I understand.
Yeah.
And, of course, we always look forward here in Port Townsend to the Wooden Boat Festival, which is the first week of September here at Point Hudson Marina.
Yeah.
And we'll have a couple boats in the festival this year, and we'll be involved in helping the Wooden Boat Foundation arrange some of the smaller boats in this year's festival, especially the trailer boats.
Okay.
They've asked us to get involved that way, so
cool.
We will.
Yeah, very cool. How many years have you been going to that festival?
Ever since year one.
Have you really?
Not every single year, because you can only do it so many years in a row before you hit the wall.
Yeah.
But and need sort of a break.
Yeah.
But we've been coming to Port Townsend for the Wooden Boat Festival since the very, very first year, and it's a great event, along with the Lake Union Wooden Boat Festival and the Olympia Wooden Boat Fair and others around the Sound. We're really all very lucky to have organizations like the Wooden Boat Foundation and the Northwest Maritime Center and the Center for Wooden Boats and other groups around the Sound who are celebrating and preserving traditional boats.
Very good, very good. Well, let's get a little plug in here for the Island Boat Shop. So tell us again what you do and how people can contact you.
Island Boat Shop. We are in Nordland on Marrowstone Island, not far from Port Townsend. Our website is www.islandboatshop.com, and people can see all the different kinds of projects we've worked on by visiting the website. We mainly are involved in restoration of vintage boats, often total restorations, but sometimes just simple refinish projects. So most anything and everything that people need help with on an older boat, whether it's made of wood or it's a classic glass cruiser from the 50s. We love getting involved in preserving old boats and keeping them out, on the water.
Yeah.
And that's sort of our joy in life, and fortunately also a sort of a marginal business.
The economic model's not super strong, but you have fun every day at work.
It's a terrible business model. I would never recommend it to anyone, but as long as we can just scrape by and pay the bills, we're happy.
Yeah. Keep the power on at home and have some groceries in the fridge and a boat in the harbor. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, any parting comments for our listeners today, Marty?
Well, just that we've all had a great time at this first Pocket Yacht Palooza, and I would really love to recommend that people check out our Pocket Yachters website again, www.pocketyachters.com, where we will have lots of photos posted soon of the Palooza, our first small craft boat show. And if they register through the website at our Yahoo forum, they'll be officially members of the Port Townsend Pocket Yachters wherever they live, and will receive all communications from us about the next Pocket Yacht Palooza and mess about events that we have on the water, gatherings we have, and other happenings in the small boat world.
And I saw somewhere your slogan of, no bylaws, no officers, no fees, no frills.
As we've said, we're ridiculously disorganized, and we love it.
Yeah.
It's very informal, sort of a typical Port Townsend, funky little gathering or group of boat owners and boat builders and rowing people and sailors who just love getting together and being out on the water in classic boats. But no bylaws, no officers, no dues, no competition, no prizes.
No expectation.
No, you just show up and have a good time. And,
I like that. We need more stuff like that in life, right?
The definition of Palooza is a really good, memorable party, and I think we've accomplished that today.
Definitely. Well, thanks for joining me today, Marty, and we'll be talking again soon.
Thanks, Dan.
Okay, it is May 19th, 2012. I am at the first annual Pocket Yachters Palooza, and with me here is Lee Bjorklund. Lee, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, this is my first podcast and my first Pocket Palooza. And my first really nice day in Port Townsend in a long time.
That's like a triple bonus going on there.
You got it.
Yeah. So, Lee, you've got a beautiful boat here called the Wee Lassie.
Wee Seal.
Wee Seal.
Wee Seal is the design name by Iain Oughtred.
Yeah.
It's about 18.5 feet long and about 7.5 feet wide and about 2,000 pounds and sloop rigged.
Okay. So tell me a little bit more about the gory details. It's an all-wood boat.
All wood.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was built about 10 years ago by a fellow by the name of David Everett, living in Bellingham.
Mm-hmm.
I and my neighbor Larry Gorse acquired it a couple of years ago, and we've been getting used to it the last couple of years. We've had it in duck dodges on Lake Union and puttering around Puget Sound and Lake Washington and Lake Union.
Mm-hmm. I see. So it's a lapstrake sailboat, sloop rig, and it's got a cabin on it. It's a pretty substantial cabin for that small boat.
It is. The boat is modified a little bit from the designer specs. It's instead of a centerboard, which would have taken up a lot of room, it is a keel boat. Has a full keel and bilge boards, and they seem to perform very, very well. The advantage is that it really opened up the interior. Have a flat floor and a couple of good-sized, almost 7-foot bunks, and has a heater and a stove and all that good stuff.
So have you done some overnighters on it?
I have not. No, we've just been getting used to it over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
I've sailed, 40 years, made all the mistakes I know how to make, and I figured I'd come up here to the first, I believe, Pocket Yacht Academy and see how smart people do it. So, there is cruising in the future. We just want to do it smart.
Yeah. So it's a lot different sailing that boat than some of the other boats you've had, probably.
Yeah, I've had. I think the last one I had was a Cal 29 that I kept at Chill Shoal. And, yeah, it's a lot different. Things happen a little quicker. Stuff is a little more compact. It is more responsive. It's a fun boat to sail. With the lapstrake, I have never had a lapstrake boat, but the thing I really have come to enjoy is when it goes to the water, it just kind of chuckles.
Oh, does it?
The wave action on the
Yeah.
boards has a really nice, friendly sound to it when it's moving through the water.
So what's the hull made out of on that boat?
It's all plywood.
It is, okay.
It's all plywood.
Akumi plywood with
epoxy impregnated.
Sheathing. Yeah.
There's no glass on it anywhere.
Oh, okay.
It's all plywood and epoxy.
Really? Yeah, very cool. And so you're also involved in the dragon boats that
I am
down on Lake Union in Seattle.
That's right.
Tell me a little bit about that, Lee.
Well, we are at Kenmore Air in Lake Union. They provide us with free moorage. They're our favorite sponsor. It saves us a lot of money on that lake. We have 3 42-foot dragon boats made in Berlin, Germany. Authentic dragon boats, the Chinese dragon boats made in Berlin. Each one seats 20 people, has a steersman and a drummer. And in fact, all 3 of them are out today down there doing a cleaning up the trash that floats when the lake rises during its has a tide once a year, up and down. And so they're cleaning up the stuff down there today.
Okay.
We operate on that lake 4 days a week, year-round. Only time we don't go out is if there's lightning, if it's so foggy you can't see more than a couple hundred feet, if there's ice on the boat, or if the wind is above about 20 miles an hour and gusting.
So you're out there a lot.
Yeah, 15 times a year. I think maybe we cancel 3 or 4 practices.
Wow.
And then we do about 10 races a year, all over the Northwest. We're going a little wider this year. In June, we are representing the city of Seattle at its sister city in Taiwan, Kaohsiung, Taiwan.
Wow.
So we're taking a team over there. And hope to do ourselves proud. We'll see.
Yeah.
It is their national sport. It's a little intimidating, but...
is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. There are about... For any given year during the peak season, there are about, estimates are 50 million dragon boat paddlers in the world. And 30 million of them are in China, in that area.
Wow.
There's only probably 300 in Seattle. Toronto, Canada has 20,000. So it's an emerging sport in the States, but it exists everywhere.
So what constitutes a dragon boat? How is that defined?
Well, it goes back 2,400 years. It's the oldest continuously practiced team sport in the world.
Wow.
Started in China, and I think, there's folklore and all sorts of stories about how it started. Basically, if you have 2 boats in the water, they're going to race. And it started in about 614 with the suicide of a Chinese philosopher in protest of the ruler at the time, and all the fishermen. And it is a fishing type boat. That's its origin.
Oh, it is. Huh?
And they raced out from the shore and beat the water to keep the fish from eating the body or something. And so every year they recreated the race.
I see.
And but a dragon boat is they're about 40, 42, 44 feet with the heads and tails. Dragon heads and tails, of course. They have scales painted on the side. There's a standing steers person with a 10-foot sweep, and then there's a drummer. Our drummer going to Taiwan, incidentally, is 86 years old, Alice Goldberg.
Oh, my goodness. Wow.
Spry lady. But the boats are about, like I said, about 42, 44 feet with everything on them. They are exactly 3.5 feet wide. And they seat 20 paddlers on 10 benches, 2 paddlers per bench.
Each paddler has a sweep then?
No. Each paddle has a paddle.
A paddle, okay. So like a canoe type paddle.
Yeah. They're about they're flat bottomed. The paddle design is uniform throughout the world. The average is about 48 inches in length. We race. Most races are 500 meters. There are some 250s, 1,000, 2,000 meters. Some 6-mile races, some 13-mile races. They do go fast. We have at one of the wooden boat shows, wooden boat festivals at the Center for Wooden Boats on Lake Union. We pulled a water skier about 2 years ago. So they get up and move. We didn't do it all over the lake, and do big circles, but we went about 300-400 meters, I think, before people wanted to stop and take a look at the scenery.
Yeah.
Actually, the Wooden Boat Festival this year, it begins on June 30th and runs through the 4th of July.
Yeah.
And we're going to start the thing off this year with a dragon boat barrel race.
Oh, I think I heard about that from Dan Leach.
Yeah. It's we put up. It's just like rodeo, but without the dirt and the horses.
Okay.
We use these 42-foot boats that aren't supposed to turn, and we put them through some very tight turns. Three buoys, 3 turns, start and finish line right in front of the crowd, and it should take an average of 2.5 to 3 minutes to do the course.
Wow. So traditionally, these boats are probably made out of wood.
They are. Most of them still are. Ours are all wood.
Oh, they are.
They have been making some glass ones over the last maybe 6-7 years, but ours are all wood.
So, what's the construction method on those, Lee?
Oh, they're an interesting boat. They're flat-sided. I mean, vertical-sided. There's maybe they're pretty flat across the top.
Okay. Are they planked?
They are basically 4 plywood planks.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
They have a tunnel hull, at least ours do. So the hull is concave underneath.
Oh, really?
And about 4 inches.
Oh.
And so they kind of have 2 semi-keels, you could say.
Yeah.
And that gives them both stability. It gives them the ability to go straight. And it provides some lift. We have videotaped these boats on a start and with a full crew, which means the boats are 550 pounds. And you put a full crew in, you're talking 4,000 pounds.
Yeah.
And if you look at the side of the boat on a start, they will actually lift out of the water about 1.5 inches as they begin to accelerate.
Wow.
And then the whole trick of racing them is that's as fast as you're ever going to get them going, and the trick is to keep that speed for 500 meters.
I see.
That's why coaches like to pull water skiers, because if you slow down, the water skier goes down. It's a good little gauge.
So how long does it take to go 500 meters in one of those?
World record is 1 minute and 43 seconds, I think, right now. It's set by a Philippine team.
From a dead start?
Dead start.
Yeah. Wow, very cool. So when did you own or use your first wooden boat, Lee?
Oh.
And what was it? Do you remember?
Oh, my dad bought me, I was probably 8 or 9, and he found some derelict thing at a defunct fishing resort at a lake. I named it Lee Key. Mm-hmm. I had to put about a half a gallon of roofing tar on it to keep it afloat, and even that didn't work. And I used it on Green Lake for several years.
Really?
Yeah, that was my first boat.
Very cool. You've had a lot since then, it sounds like.
I have. Probably, last count, I still probably have about 12. They're all little.
Do you really?
I have a cedar strip canoe hanging in the living room in the ceiling. My wife wanted some nice woodwork in there, so
okay. Tell me, just list off the other ones.
I have a Friendship 10,
okay,
which was made in Everett. It's a 20% enlargement of an El Toro.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. I have a kayak I built, a canvas on skin when I was 12.
Wow.
I have a dinghy. I have 3 inflatable kayaks, a couple of inflatable, I guess you call them just dinghies, and OPUS. And a outrigger, one-man outrigger under the front porch. I use that on Green Lake. And
so you got no excuses not to get out on the water.
Yeah, that's right. I probably spend too much time on the water, but it keeps you out of the bars and off the streets. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Much safer place to be than on land.
That's
probably.
right.
Yeah.
So far.
Yeah.
So far.
Well, thanks for joining me today, Lee. Any parting comments for our Wooden Boat listeners?
Just that I really enjoy your blogs and your website. It's been fascinating. A great ride on land.
Okay, super. Well, thanks a lot, Lee.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. It is May 19th, 2012. I am with Pete Leenhouts. Pete, welcome to the show today.
Thank you.
We're at the first annual Pocket Yachters Palooza. Is that right?
That's right.
Pete,
the Pocket Yachters
right?
Palooza.
Yeah. So tell me just real briefly about that.
Well, the Pocket Yachters are a local group here in Port Townsend. And there's about probably 30 or so of us that have small boats or want to own small boats. Power, sail, rowing, all different kinds of small boats. Could be mostly wooden boats, but there's some fiberglass boats. And it's just a very loosely affiliated group that likes to get together and hang out on the water and enjoy small boats and boating.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful day here. We're at the Northwest Maritime Center in Port Townsend, Washington. And Pete is the interim director of the Northwest School of Wood and Boat Building. And I understand you're having a class in August, Pete. You're going to build a scamp. So tell me about that. Tell me about the boat and the class.
Sure. The scamp is a 11-foot 11 micro cruiser designed by New Zealand designer John Welsford. And John is just profiled in the March-April of Wooden Boat magazine. And the scamp is one of his most popular designs. It was commissioned by Josh Colvin, actually, the editor of Small Craft Advisor magazine here in Port Townsend. And it was designed to be a trailable cruiser, water ballasted, that can sleep one or two people. It's easy to tow and isn't really one of these very expensive, you need to know a lot to run the boat kind of boats. And it's drawn a huge amount of attention. And we noticed at the Port Townsend Festival last year, at the Wooden Boat Festival here in Port Townsend, that it was attracting a lot of attention. So I asked John, would you like to come to the boat school and teach a course in building the scamp since you designed it? And he said, well, sure, I'd be happy to do that. And then we started looking for classroom space and decided that we could host it up here in Port Townsend since we're in Port Hadlock, about 10 miles south of us. Yeah. And we decided we'd work with Jake Beatty at the Northwest Maritime Center, and he loaned us Scott Jones as boat shop manager, who's also a boat school graduate, one of our graduates out of the contemporary course. And we set the course up for the 6th to the 17th of August. So we're looking for 12 boat owners or wannabe boat owners, and I would count myself in that group, and 12 people that would like to help. So we can take up to 24 folks. And basically the boat owners want to buy a kit from Turnpoint Design through Small Craft Advisor, which has been significantly discounted. And then the kits will be delivered up here, and we build the hull and close the deck in basically the 2 weeks of the class. Okay. And then finish it after that. It would be finished on their own, basically, with lots of help.
So what does the class cost, and how much are the kits, approximately?
The class is going to cost $995, which is runs from 7:30 in the morning on Monday, the 6th of August, to Friday, the 17th of August. At 5 p.m. 2012, right? Yeah, okay. Right through the weekend, because John will be here all weekend to help. And we have 4 shop assistants set up, one of which is Howard Rice, the world-famous adventurer and person that sailed around Cape Horn in his kayak and gets involved in these small sailing clinics, which are all over the United States now. One starts tomorrow, actually. He's going to teach it here in Port Townsend. And the kit comes from Small Craft Advisor, and off the top of my head, I'm stumped just a touch on the kit, which I think is something on the order of $1,900, which is a steal, basically. Turnpoint's turning these things out for almost no profit, to get the course going for us. So Howard is in the process of registering the scamp as a one design, so it has a formal design with the U.S. Sailing Association. And so there's quite a bit of interest, and I think we'll do pretty well on this class.
So if somebody wants to attend, what do they need to do, Pete?
Well, they give me a call on the phone at 360-385-4948, or they can talk to us through our email, summer2012@nwboatschool.org, or they can look at our website and link to us through there, and our website is www.nwboatschool.org.
Okay, very cool.
Lots of different ways to talk to us. And my email address at the school is pete@nwboatschool.org.
Okay, very good. And again, that's August 6th through the 17th, 2012 in Port Townsend.
In Port Townsend. So we'll do the registrations from Port Hadlock, but John Welsford and Howard Rice, Scott Jones, and one of our other alumni is going to teach the course up here. So it's going to be a great course, and I think it'll be about 3 to 4 students per instructor class, and there'll be extra instructors up here too. So and it's a great location. You can see, look around. We've got the entire Puget Sound out here, the Admiralty Inlet, Northwest Maritime Center, and their piers, and all of Port Townsend right at your feet. So this is a great place for a class like this.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. So, Pete, you attended the Northwest Wooden Boat School of Wooden Boat Building. What year was that?
Well, I did. I started in 2005, and I took the contemporary course, and then I came back in 2006 and took small craft, traditional small craft, and I came back the next year in 2008 and took traditional large craft. So I've been through all 3 of their major programs.
Through all 3 of those, okay.
Right. I should say our major programs.
Yeah. So now you've been the interim director for how long?
About 6 weeks, yeah. Our director had to resign for health reasons, and the board of directors put me in as the interim, and it's been a lot of fun. It's one of those jobs you look forward to getting up every day and charging down to the school and working with the staff and the students. It's one of those dream jobs, really.
Yeah.
It's really a dream job.
Wow, good for you.
You're on boats all day long, and people that want to build boats and yak about boats and all that.
Yeah, that's about as good as it gets.
Can't think of a better job. I know, maybe interviewer.
I want your job.
Yeah, exactly.
I like doing what I do, but I'm not getting paid right now. But
no, I'm not getting paid either. I'm a volunteer. Yeah. But it's just one of those jobs where just fate kind of put me there at the right time, and we have a great board and great staff, and probably about 37 or 38 students this quarter.
Yeah.
And we're building 17 different kinds of boats, 17 different boats, and some are going to be continued next year, and some will be finished this year, and it's just a great place. It's right on the water. It's down below the little town of Port Hadlock, and if listeners want to come and take a tour, I'd be happy to take them on tours. So.
Very cool. How many students do you have right now?
37.
37, yeah. Okay.
We normally run somewhere between 45 and 55 at the start of the year in October, and that's our basic boat building course. We teach from October to December, so we assume that everybody that shows up doesn't know anything about tools, hand tools or power tools, and we start at the beginning with sharpening. We go through a short series of exercises on how to build joints and how to use all the different hand tools, and then we build a wooden hand plane and a bevel board and a bevel gauge, just things to get people used to using their tools, and then a week on lofting, a week on drafting, a week of half model building, a week of oar building, and then we go into building a boat. So by December, everybody in the class helps to build one of 4 boats that we build, and our class ratios are about 1 instructor to 11 students. Then in January through June, we teach the 3 main courses, which are traditional large craft, traditional small craft, and contemporary boat building. In the summer, we teach repair and restoration and interiors, and graduate the 12-month students in mid-September with an accredited degree. So
very good.
It's an accredited vocational degree.
So I've got a question for you. If I send over my plane irons, will you guys sharpen it?
We have lots of practice sharpening irons, yeah.
You guys using whetstones to sharpen your stuff?
We use water stones. Japanese water stones. Some people like the old oil stone, which is the way my dad taught me. But I really learned here at the school how to sharpen properly. I was one of those guys, I had my own shop for 20 years in the service as I was moving all around, and I could not get things sharp. My dad could get them sharp, and he tried, but I couldn't do it. And when I came to the school, I learned how to sharpen, and I could do it.
There's a real art and process to it, isn't there, to do it right?
And I feel confident now. In like 3 weeks, the school said, here's how you do it. And some folks like to use hand, they want to keep the angle by their hands, and I like to use a jig, and it works just fine for me, and I can sharpen anything now. Everything except Western hand saws, which we don't use at the school. We use Japanese saws.
Right. Which they cut on the pull stroke.
Yeah, exactly. Western saw cuts on the push stroke. Japanese have a smaller kerf because they don't need such a wide blade.
Right.
But so if you're an old tool person, this is a great place.
Definitely. So, Pete, what's your background with boats? As a kid and stuff, did you do some boating and play around on wooden boats?
I grew up outside Milwaukee in lake country. Out there, there's a lot of small freshwater lakes. Not so small. around in the Waukesha, Wisconsin area, and went into the Navy when I was 18 as a midshipman. I went through college, got a degree, joined the service, active duty for 27 years, commanded 2 ships. Retired in 2004 after a wonderful career, fantastic, lots of time at sea, and worked for a year as a defense contractor for a good company. Decided I wasn't cut out to be an office guy, and decided, I'm going to make the leap and come out here and learn how to build wooden boats. And so one of the ships I'd commanded was a wooden ship, 175-foot long minesweeper.
Oh,
down
really?
in Seattle, yeah. The USS Pledge, as a matter of fact.
Wow.
Wonderful ship, yeah.
Yeah.
So we came up here in 1992 to the Wooden Boat Festival with the ship, and tried to get in through the crowd, to the pier over here, and we couldn't get the ship. There were so many boats out here. We're standing on the pier now, and there were so many boats we couldn't get our ship in. So I anchored, and we just sent the crew ashore on Liberty, and then we did tours all day long. Anybody that wanted to climb up our ladder and take a tour of a wooden ship, yeah.
In 92?
In 92, yeah. It was a blast.
Fun.
It was a blast.
You were the captain of that ship?
Yeah, yeah. Another one of those jobs where you can't believe you have the good fortune to do that. And on a wooden ship in Seattle, and with the Olympics and the Cascades and all this all around you, it was just fantastic.
So all the minesweepers are made out of wood?
Yeah,
yeah.
All the big ones are. The little ones, were actually made out of fiberglass. Mm-hmm. That's another story.
Okay.
Largest fiberglass warships built. The engines hung from the ceiling on cables. So that the shock of a mine wouldn't offset the engines.
Oh, really?
Yeah, minesweepers are made out of wood because wood is not attractive to metal. And so some of the mines are magnetic.
I see.
They look for the big signature that a metal ship has.
Yeah.
And so a wooden ship has a very small magnetic signature. And we work hard to minimize it and make it invisible. It's really a stealth ship because we can make our ship invisible to a magnetic mine.
Oh, really? So, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool.
So we were here. There was a squadron of minesweepers here all the way from the middle 80s until about 1994 in the Puget Sound.
Oh, really?
They were moved down to Texas, about that time. And so...
Are they still around?
Actually, the class that my class... of minesweeper was an MSO 420 class. My ship number was 492, so it was a much later one. They were sold all over the world, and the last ships were sold to Taiwan in about 1997 or 1998, which is where my ship ended up.
Really?
Yeah.
And so they're not used anymore.
Well, we have the new MSOs,
and
those MSOs were built in Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin, by Peterson Shipbuilders, and they are about 1,100 tons to where mine was 925 tons.
Oh.
And they're also wooden with a fiberglass covering on the outside, and they're still in service.
Oh, really?
Those ships were started in, I want to say they were started in the 90s. They were probably actually started in the late 80s. Mm-hmm. And then they went from there, and we built some number of them, like 20 or something like that. And they all went down to Texas for a while. Now they're stationed all over the place again. We have a squadron in the Persian Gulf.
Oh, wow. What species of wood are they planking those things with?
I think those boats were planked with Douglas fir, but I'm not sure.
Really?
Yeah. Ours, the wooden minesweepers were all hardwood, best quality. The Navy built the boats, and then the book was written on building wooden warships or building with wood, using those boats as a template.
I see.
So, I think I'd remember all that. Douglas fir sticks in my mind, and I think that's probably what it was. White cedar.
Yeah.
Great ships to take care of, and Lake Union Dry Dock and Shipbuilding Corporation over in Seattle on Lake Union took care of the boat, the technical part of the hull for us. I mean, we kept everything clean and all that stuff, but the repairs that were needed on an old ship, we were 37 years, I think, at that time in age, which is old for a wooden ship that was used as heavily as ours was. We've been on Vietnam patrol and market time and all that, done numerous transits across the Pacific by itself and with other ships, and all over the world as you would expect a Navy ship to be. Mm-hmm. And when I came aboard in 1990, she was a reserve ship, and the reserves were doing a wonderful job taking care of her. They really did a fantastic job. So I learned about working with reserve personnel. It was a great tour for that, and learned all about minesweeping and ship handling, a small twin-screwed ship, and went up and down the coast of California and Canada, and we did a lot of stuff. It was a lot of fun. Had a great crew.
Wow, that sounds
lucky.
like a lot of fun. I'm a little jealous, Pete.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
I was sitting at a desk somewhere where you were out on the water in a wooden boat.
Yeah. So that's where I got bit with the wooden boat bug, and then it just never left. I just never could shake it. So
really,
yeah. So I built a scow back in Virginia where I lived, and then thought, well, if I'm going to really learn how to build boats properly, I need to go to the Wooden Boat School. So I came out here to the Northwest School of Wooden Boat Building.
So that's how you moved out here?
Yeah.
And you stayed here?
Yeah. I moved out here to go to that school. I knew this is where I wanted to end up. So.
Yeah.
And I knew I wanted to go to that school, because this is really a traditional Puget Sound. The traditional courses are traditional Northwest-style wooden boats, which is really a direct heritage back to what we had here 150 years ago.
Yeah.
The contemporary stuff, we're building a 62-foot contemporary day sailor now, strip plank hull and fiberglass and foam deck, and that's right at the top end technically of what's being done in the United States, and that's a Bob Perry design, and we have world-class people that can build that boat with us and help teach our students right here on the Quimper Peninsula, between Port Hadlock and Port Townsend. So It's a great place to come to school.
Yeah. So what is it about wooden boats, Pete, that gets you really excited versus other types of boats?
Well, I was a history major in college, and so for me, it's a direct connection to the history. America is really a maritime nation. 95% of what we get in the United States comes in by sea. Our cars, our transport, our trade, all the stuff that we see in all the stores. Most of that stuff is made overseas, and we ship overseas and we trade overseas. We receive from, and it's just that heritage, I think. Plus, it's a good excuse to get out on the water and just have fun, and I like the idea of people building their boats or boats that can be built in a variety of different construction methods. And I started at the school in contemporary, so I started with plywood and fiberglass, carbon fiber, and that kind of thing, And so I enjoy that style of boat building too. So I really don't have anything against fiberglass boats. I just like boats. I like wooden boats best.
Right. Well, the idea that you can make it yourself, and you can make anything. You can pretty much make anything if you're disciplined and follow some instructions and stuff.
And what we teach at the school is basically the same methods that were used in the 1920s, because Bob Prothero, the famous Seattle boatwright, started the school to transfer his knowledge to the next generation back in 1981. So that's why he started the school with a couple of backers up here in Port Townsend. And back in 2003 or 4, we moved down to Port Hadlock to waterfront digs down there in the old mill town. So we're right on the water, have good shops, that kind of thing. So it's the heritage, I think, that's important to me. Power and sail, same thing. I enjoy all different kinds of boats, modern ones and traditional ones and everything in between.
So what are you building right now, Pete?
Oh, I'm building a Bolger.
You've been working on it for a while, I hear.
Yeah, we won't say the number of years. It's actually a pretty simple boat. It's a Bolger clam skiff, 18 feet long, center console. It can take up to 40 horse. And it's a plywood boat with fiberglass, which is what I enjoy working in that style. And Bolger was a prolific designer who just passed away a couple of years ago, and very, very inventive, very thoughtful, very knowledgeable. He's the guy, for example, that designed the boat that was used in Master and Commander, the big ship.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that John Aubrey sailed on, or Jack Aubrey sailed on, and he designed everything all the way down to the well-known Bolger brick, the square boat with a sail. That's built out of plywood. They've sailed across the Mediterranean, across the Atlantic. I mean, he's built everything from 6-foot boats to 300-foot boats and all kinds of things in between. And much of his design work is accessible to home builders, to people that want to build their own boat. And they're not particularly complex boats, although they're very highly engineered boats. So they're good at what they do. And in this particular boat's case, the clam skiff, the picture he's got in his book, I think it's Boats with an Open Mind, is his son, which was probably about 225 or 250 pounds, at the time was a lobsterman on the East Coast. It shows him standing on the edge of the boat right at the chine, right at where the hull meets the side of the boat. And the boat's hardly heeled over at all. And he's hauling on a lobster pot, So you can see that he's bringing up a significant amount of weight. Plus, he's a fairly heavy guy, and he's standing, where you'd think that boat would be showing a lot of heel. And the boat's very stable, flat bottoms, plumb sides. So I happen to like that look in a plywood boat. And it's just a good boat for around here.
Was Bolger from the East Coast?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he lived up in the Connecticut area.
Okay. So when are you going to finish that, Pete? I want to get out on that.
Shortly. shortly. I'm having too much fun at the school now. And
Yeah.
I come home at night and I look at that boat and I go, okay, I'll get to it tomorrow.
Yeah.
But, you really got to keep, every day you got to do something on the boat, Otherwise it's going to all of a sudden stop. And
I know.
there's too many stories like that,
Yeah, I started my canoe 3 months ago, and I was going pretty strong, and then I got sidetracked on some other stuff. But I'm going to hit it again. So.
What they say is in the Pacific Northwest tool collectors here tell me that what you have to do when you get to that point is you go out in your shop and you sit, and you look at the object that you're working on until you suddenly get that urge to start working on it, and then everything will flow. So I'm about there. I'm about ready to go out in the shop and sit down and look at my boat.
Good. I'm going to ask you next time I talk to you.
Okay, good.
How that's
good.
going.
Hopefully I'll take you for a ride.
Yeah, that would be fun.
That'd be good.
So, well, Pete, I really appreciate all the help you've given me in getting my podcast launched. You've been really great at helping set up interviews, and it's really because I live on the other side of the sound and don't know all the people over here, and it's awesome to be able to email or call you and say, hey, Pete, can you get this interview set up for me? And so I really appreciate that. I wanted to say that.
That's a good community over here.
Yeah, definitely.
Enjoy it. Thanks very much for the podcast.
Yeah, you're welcome. So any parting comments for our listeners today?
Build wooden boats. Come to the school. Come to our scamp class.
Okay, very good. All right, well, thanks a lot, Pete.
Yeah,
talk to you later.
Yep.
Bye. Thank you to Marty, Lee, and Pete for doing those interviews. It was an absolute blast to come over to Port Townsend for the Palooza and meet all these folks and interview you guys and just have a fun conversation for the podcast. So thanks so much for doing that. Best of luck to you, Marty, with your boat shop, and Lee with your dragon boats, and OPUS, and Pete at the Northwest School of Wooden Boat Building. I hope your scamp class goes well and you get a lot of new students signed up for the school. Next week will be another fantastic show. I will be interviewing either Howard Rice or Josh Colvin. Haven't decided which one I'm going to play yet, but it's going to be a lot of fun. Howard Rice has done some amazing things in some small boats. Josh Colvin, editor of Small Craft Advisor magazine. Really fun interviews. So tune in again next week for that. If you'd like to support me, please send cash. No, don't do that unless you feel like it. Actually, if you make purchases on Amazon of any product, you can help support me by going through my website to make your purchase of any product there. The way you would do that is go to my website, hookedonwoodenboats.com/resources. Click on any product on that page. That takes you to Amazon, and if you make a purchase, I get paid a little bit. If you're buying boat building supplies, marine supplies, and so on online, you can do so. If you do so through Jamestown Distributors, I get paid a little bit for that. The way you would do that is go to my website homepage, click on the Jamestown Distributors link there on the right-hand side. That takes you to their website, and if you make a purchase within 30 days, I get paid a little bit there. So appreciate your support if you'd like to do that. The other way you can support me is by subscribing to my podcast in iTunes and leaving a 5-star review there. I would really appreciate that. Well, it's been a good week again. Thanks for tuning in. I'm having fun doing the show. We're approaching 1 year here pretty soon, which is kind of amazing. I'm really looking forward to a fun summer, getting my boat done, attending several of the wooden boat festivals coming up. Probably the Maritime Heritage Festival in Portland, Oregon, Center for Wooden Boats Festival in Seattle, Port Townsend Wooden Boats Festival, where I will be presenting. And if you happen to be there, look me up. I'd love to meet you and talk about wooden boats. So have a great week. Keep the sunny side up and the barnacled side down. This is Wooden Boat Dan, over and out. Take care.